everyone. Welcome. Joe, are you ready?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yep, sure can.
Awesome.
Welcome. We had over 100 register tonight. So I'm guessing there'll be people popping on and off here for a little bit, but I told them we'll be sending out the recording. But for those of you that are with us live, thank you so much for joining us live. This way you will be able to ask Joe any question and get the answer right away. So I met Joe when I was in Austin at the physical therapy private practice conference. I was walking by and kind of saw what they were doing and checked it out and thought it would be amazing for our practice. And then Steve introduced him to Steve as well, because I'm always thinking like, can we integrate this into the EMR that we utilize? So Steve met him as well. And then we've been talking, my therapist started using it this week, and we're excited to utilize it. And I'm excited for you guys to get to know a little bit more about what Joe has created. So I will let you take over and I will kind of be on the back end and I'll just manage the chat and Q&A for you. So
Awesome. Yeah, very cool. Kara, thank you so much. And it's awesome to be here and talk with everyone. I will try to keep it somewhat informal, but maybe can start with telling you a bit about myself and just giving you some background on the company and what the software does before maybe getting into it a little bit more. So my name is Joe Robertson. I am a former professional athlete and actually started this company because of an injury that I experienced. Actually, while I was in college, I played varsity lacrosse at Duke University and tore my ACL. About 3 weeks after my surgery is when COVID happened. So I had to do a majority of my therapy on my own at home and was constantly paranoid about my progress, specifically range of motion and different forms and movements. And so started thinking of ways that you could leverage your phone to track your joint movements and analyze your recovery progress. And that eventually, spent a year, my senior year at Duke, kind of mapping it out, and then spent an extra year at Duke studying computer vision and healthcare and building out the application. And so since then have built out the software, which is a mobile iOS application that leverages just your camera to analyze your joint movement in real time, track that progress over time, and map out advanced analytics. And an upcoming feature that we have is the ability to generate exercise programs based on the results. And so today I'm going to kind of talk through the software a bit and talk about some trends that I'm seeing within our customers that are using it. To date, we have a little over 1,300 different therapists and trainers who've leveraged the software and conducted over 100,000 different evaluations in only a year of being fully launched. So the software pride ourselves on being very extremely user-friendly and very quick and easy to understand. And so what I think I'll go ahead and do is maybe share my screen here, go through some of how the application works, do a couple demos here. I am in a pretty tight apartment, unfortunately, but I'll show you how it works and then can field any questions or revisit any items here. So let me pull up my screen really quick. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So can everyone um, see my screen here?
Yep, we can see it.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, great. Yeah, so this is the application, as I mentioned, it's an iOS
Oh,
application.
just a
So
second.
uh,
Other people can't see it.
oh,
That's weird. Why can we see it and other people can't see it? Okay, just a second. Oh, no, they're answering my question. Sorry, my bad. Go ahead, continue. I shouldn't ask
no,
yes, no questions at that time.
no worries at all. Um, so yeah, this is the mobile application. It leverages, again, just the camera on your phone. You can access this on an iPad or an iPhone, so it's extremely mobile. And what we have here is just kind of the main home dashboard. This is an area where you kind of have just some general stats here, so you can see total. We have a therapist and trainers. We've got different organizations and enterprises that use the software. So we classify clients as patients, but technically we use clients, so it's a bit more versatile here. And got some general stats and some tips on how to best use it, as well as some lightweight stats here and some different functional and range of motion assessments to get started. So I'll go ahead and pop over here to the evaluation screen. We've got 24 different single joint range of motion assessments. So those are primarily just, again, capturing only the single joint, but we can look at the shoulder, elbow, hip, knee, ankle, neck, and back. And I'm happy to run through some of those, but this is kind of how we have it laid out here. For our functional and posture analyses, we've got overhead squat analysis, posture analysis, single leg squat, sit to stand test, 2 minutes, 2 minute step test, and we've got an upcoming gait analysis, which we're really excited to release. We also have some handy different templates here. So for specifically rehabilitation purposes, we've got different programs that basically have a lot of those assessments combined all together, as well as for athletics and any employer focused therapists and providers. So what I'll go ahead and do, just to give you guys a glimpse into how the software works, I will go ahead here and tap in to to the shoulder range of motion. And now what this is doing, and I'm using my front facing camera here. So I'm going to step back here, but as you can see, it's tracking my joints in real time. I'm not wearing any sensors. This is just a shirt that I'm wearing. And this is looking at shoulder abduction. So I'm a bit constrained here on the right side, but I'll go ahead and lift my arm up here, and it's kind of automatically tracking all the way up and all the way down. And so typically how this is used is right now for demo purposes, I'm using the front facing camera. So you can turn on over here on the right, you can turn on this auto capture, which once you stabilize, it'll go ahead and capture it. Or if you're working with a patient, you might be using the back facing camera, which you can switch up top here and then capture it using the capture button down here. Now, every single time you take an assessment, you can quickly slide up if there's any pain here. This is a 0 to 10 pain scale, so it makes it super quick to quickly report and kind of track anything, and then move straight to the next one. So the next one is shoulder adduction here. All right, so I'm gonna reach across, and you can kind of continue to quickly roll through all of these once you do as many as you want. And again, these are just the single joint assessments. I'll show you what the squat assessment looks like here in a second. But you can type in any evaluation notes and then assign it to a client and track it with a specific injury, or if it's just personal performance, you can do that as well. And then all of those results are stored over time. And so you can compare left versus right, or if they have a specific injury, you can look and tap into some of this is sample data, so bear with it. But you can tap in and kind of track their progress over time. It's great for engaging with patients. It's showing them that they're making improvements. You also have it in a pretty nicely laid out table here where you can see percentage increase or decrease over time, depending on different assessments. So you can kind of continue to scroll through. And all of that information is stored within their evaluation history, which you can quickly export as a PDF and upload to an EMR or send as a copy of the results, so that they have kind of a take home of what to look at. So I'll move next to back over here to the evaluations just to quickly show you what a squat analysis looks like. And hopefully I can get this to set up right. Second, having trouble with my tripod here. Let's go ahead and click in. So I'm going to go ahead and click start here. And again, our software is using artificial intelligence to basically map out the different joints and location of your body. And then we're running different analyses over that representation and understanding of the human body. And that's kind of how this software works. It makes its assumptions here. So I'm going to try to back up here. I'm a bit constrained and my iPad's a little bit facing upwards, but we'll go ahead and give it a shot here. Squat down, come back up. Then we'll do the front facing. So it is two-dimensional at the moment. I'm going to actually just set this on the ground so I can get a bit of a better look here. Let's see. So I'm going to come here, come up, down. And then this is a 3-rep overhead squat. And I'll come over here, raise up again, come down. And just like that, you're done. Now, typically, if you're using this within a clinic, or even if you're using this, if you're using it within a clinic, you typically use a tripod, or you may want to have a specific designated area. If you're using it within the home, we do have a nice feature where if you reverse the camera and your device supports it, you can use a wide lens to get more of the frame in the space. And so we'll come back here and finish up the evaluation. Once they're all complete, you can type in, again, any evaluation notes and assign that to an individual. And now we can click in here and view what the results were. So we have kind of a results breakdown section here, which will give you both a score based on the normative joint angles and metrics for overhead squats, as well as the kind of raw results here that you can click through and kind of understand. We do also give a detailed breakdown, which kind of explains what these results mean, which is very helpful when kind of translating or giving it to a patient. And again, this can be exported as a PDF. We also support CSV export. So if you have your own kind of data analyses, pathways and methodologies that you currently have in place, that's a really great option as well. So overall, I think where we've seen a lot of people leverage our technology has been using it to help improve their efficiency, as well as clinics and providers being able to establish consistency for their evaluations and reevaluations, as well as being able to improve the patient engagement. One of the major trends I think we've seen over the past year has been a really big emphasis on outcomes and data. And not only for the patient themselves, but also for marketing and being able to prove the services that they provide, whether it be leveraging that data for community outreach or trying to get more referrals through the door. Our system does a pretty good job of being able to convey those outcomes and do it in a very easy manner. And so while we can track very detailed progress data for individual patients themselves, we also have a pretty unique feature here for our analytics dashboard, where you can actually view a breakdown of your population health analytics here. So for instance, if we click in to our range of motion data point here, we can then see what the average, left and right range of motion is for all the clients that we've screened so far to date. You can then, filter down even more by different age ranges, different sex, injury descriptions, which are basically just injuries, and can see also the average pain thresholds reported by those individuals. You can do the same as well down here for squats. So you can click in and see what those average data points are and be able to specifically understand where your population is. And same thing with our sit to stand values here. A cool feature is that as you kind of continue to filter down, we'll have our system has enough data to understand what the norms are, which are provided by the CDC, the AMA, published literature, all of which we help use as a reference point for understanding what the data means. And so being able to not only utilize the data to track individual patient progress, but also for these group health outcomes, and being able to leverage that within your marketing or within your patient engagement is extremely, extremely helpful and very becoming very important and very powerful for a lot of our customers. And so that is pretty much the quick run through the application. It is meant to be extremely quick, extremely easy to use. And so I'm happy to, revisit any areas or talk through any other points about the software or answer any questions. And if not, I can maybe talk through a bit about how people have been leveraging it within different environments.
So we have a few questions, and before we go to the
Okay.
questions, can you just review again? And we know you can do all the range of motion measurements, but what other assessments you can do?
Yeah, so we'll click back into the evaluations here. So the top row is all of the single joint range of motion. For our functional and kind of posture row here, we do the 30-second and 5 reps sit to stand. We do overhead squat analysis. We have an anterior and sagittal posture screening, posture analysis here, as well as a single leg squat analysis. We have an upcoming gait analysis, which is a 10-meter walking gait. Included in that,
That's a highly recommended one by the geriatric doctors, so that's great.
Yeah, so alongside of that, we'll be releasing the timed up and go and actually a 6-minute walk test that you can completely facilitate. Just lay out different areas to walk in between, have it be able to see the entire pathway, click start, and it'll track the steps, the length, the speed, everything. We also have the 2-minute step test. And we've got single leg balance and a couple other balance assessments that are coming out here in the beginning of early 2024.
Awesome. And then the rehab, the athletics, employers, any other ones on there that you
So
have?
these are different kind of combinations of, right now, they're combinations of single joint range of motion assessments. Pretty soon we'll be incorporating the ability to mix and match. So we'll have, for the athlete mobility screening, it will include the overhead squat analysis. Right now, it's just looking, these are, if we click into here, this is just looking at the hip flexion, extension, shoulder, internal and external, the ankle, and the back. Now the ankle, we have a kind of tag here for beta. The reason we do that is because we're working on making that a bit better. It performs very, very well right now if you don't have socks or shoes on. But if you try to do plantar flexion with shoes and socks on, it gets a bit funky sometimes. So that's kind of why we have that there. We also have, I guess, one other thing I can show you is the ability to create your own evaluations. So you can come in here and add a new evaluation. Right now, again, these are only you're only able to kind of add and customize single joint range of motion evaluations. So you can come in and say, I want to do back flexion, hip flexion, and neck. And then come over here and type custom 2, 3. I think I already have a 2 in there. And close. And then now we have custom 2, 3 here. So you can kind of come in and quickly use that. So if you have, an evaluation process or specific motions that you like to analyze for different injuries or different patient populations, you can kind of customize that and make it your own, so that you can quickly access that.
Awesome. Okay, so let's do some of the questions. So Joe and I have actually talked about the hand and fingers. So we have a question here, like on upper extremity assessment for the forearm, hand, and fingers for OT. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So the currently we do not support the hand or fingers, unfortunately. I guess the forearm extends a little bit into that as well right now. The reason for that is we're still testing it on our end, and we want to make sure that we have it pretty validated before we launch it. We can identify on the hand alone 21 distinct individual landmarks. And so it's very, very precise. Sometimes what the challenges that we're trying to overcome right now is just the different hand positions that people tend to kind of rotate and compensate towards, tend to throw it off. But early in Q2 of 2024 is when we're planning on releasing our hand model, which will have a whole slew of different evaluations for the hand, and forearms and wrists.
What did you say? Your hand, what? That you're
For
gonna
Oh, we're gonna release our hand model. It means like
okay.
our hand AI model. So we'll release that in early Q2 of 2024, and that will have a bunch of different evaluations for fingers, the hand, forearm, a bunch of different assessments.
Awesome. Um, can you currently do elbow range of motion?
We do elbow flexion and extension.
Okay.
Yep.
But at this point, no supination, pronation, or wrist or fingers.
Not the finger yet. None of those yet. But again, those are coming out very soon.
Okay, awesome. Has this ever been included in any documentation systems? Someone asked about Epic.
Yeah, so it's not like directly connected. We don't have an integration with Epic. What we have had, and what our customers currently do is they just download and then upload that to a patient's profile, whether it be an Epic or something like WebPT or whatever they're using. And so that's kind of our quick workaround. We are eyeing in 2024, though, probably towards the latter half of the year, trying to set up different integrations with EMRs, and Epic is probably very high on the list for that.
And I'm really trying to push Hello Note integration for those of us that use that. Does it record video for comparison eval to discharge?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Currently, we don't capture the video. There's two kind of reasons why. One is with kind of data and privacy, and the second is within kind of a storage and software development challenge that you can run into. So that's something that eventually we will kind of trend towards, but at the moment we are just simply capturing all of the evaluation data, which can be, if you export it as a CSV, you can actually have all of the raw data from the assessment, but we're just not saving the actual individual videos yet.
You had mentioned the home exercise program. How does that work?
Yeah, so the home exercise program, which I don't know if I have it loaded on here, we've got different tiers, and I think I might have forgot to access this one. But our home exercise program will be released very soon, and it has a huge, big generate button on here. And basically what that does is it takes into account an individual's evaluation results, their current injury, any kind of metrics that you've entered into their profile, and then helps build a targeted exercise program specific to whatever you'd like it to be. If you want it to be, a 10-minute stretching program, or you want it to be, a 45-minute home exercise program that they complete 3 times a week. So that is going to be released very soon before the end of the year for anyone to access. And those programs are built in or exported as PDFs, which you can then quickly send to your patients. Eventually, we're going to transition that so it's a mobile app and they can have videos and everything like that. But for right now, it's a quick kind of exercise program that you can generate that's pretty personalized. You can edit, modify it if you need to, and then send that directly to the patient.
Right. Would the neck range of motion cover pediatrics, and just in general, do the other range of motions or tests cover kind of all ages or sizes of people?
Yeah, so we actually had a group test neck range of motion for infants, and I think the age range was 8 months to, I think what they tested on was 8 months to 3 years, 3-year-olds, and they said it worked pretty well. We did not build the software with, pediatrics or infants in mind, to be 100% honest, but we have heard so far that it does work on them. And that's something where, a certain population like that, we would want to make sure that whoever is using the software for that, we're happy to give them a free trial to see if it works. Because that's not something that we, originally designed it for, but not to say that it won't work.
Do Androids support this?
Currently, it's only iOS. The reason for that is because Android phones, there's a ton of variations of them, and so the camera quality on each different device varies pretty significantly. What we know with Apple is that we have a pretty consistent expectation for the quality of camera, which greatly affects how our software works. So for the time being, we are only iOS.
And it can work on iPhones, iPads, and
Yep.
a Mac too? I mean, like, does it work on like laptop, like a Mac, or?
It does. You can download it as a Mac app. It's probably not the smoothest thing you would want to do, um, but it's all iOS software applications.
Awesome. Can it measure passive range of motion?
It can. So passive range of motion, what you want to do is typically the best way that we say is you want to have it on a tripod or some sort of stand, and then you basically stand, make sure that the patient is ahead of you within the frame. So what we do is we detect the individual who's closest to the frame, or closest to the camera, and so as long as you're standing behind them or they're a little bit forward in front of you, you can easily, manipulate or do passive range of motion while it's analyzing.
Can it be used in teletherapy?
So currently, since it's only on the iPhone and iPad, and so it's kind of a mobile app, it was built to be used in person, either on the go with home health or actually within a clinic. So for that, not necessarily, it's not designed for teletherapy, but what we have had people do is, have someone stand in the frame and they kind of, hold their phone up or hold their iPad up and evaluate it. It's maybe not the most consistently accurate way to do it, but it certainly will pick up and track someone.
So some people are wondering if this would take the skill out of therapists. Like, would it make some therapists lazier? Another thought on that is if it takes the skill out of therapists. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think that's the case. And the reason I say that is, I think that there's so much importance within the data, that if you're not, you know, if you're just kind of eyeballing it, which we've had plenty of people tell us that, hey, your software's not for us. We just eyeball this stuff and go with our gut feeling, which is it's fine. And some people have enough experience that they can really do that very, very well. Now, what they are missing out on, though, is very important data that can be leveraged within the clinic for, again, for improving outcomes, for helping improve your marketing material, for helping getting more referrals into the door, and overall just improving your practice's efficiency. So I don't necessarily think it's taking the skill out of it. We actually work with quite a bit of education systems, PT college programs that use it within the classroom to help teach goniometry and things like that.
How about with like one therapist to another, like say George goes and does measurements and then Samantha goes and does measurements, and when they're using a goni, are they exactly placing it in the right position and so forth? When they use this device, have you found it's more consistent with the measurements?
Yeah, so it's typically within, if not better than, the 5-degree margin of error. For our shoulder assessments, we actually did a study, and it was within 2 to 3 degrees margin of error. And so we're very confident it picks up pretty much the exact same way each time. You just need to make sure that you have the individuals, as much the individual's body in the frame. You have some good lighting, and that their whole entire movement is within the frame, and it's pretty consistent. So we definitely have had, I think, a good example of that is within home health, and one of our groups that uses it across 34 of their different therapists to be able to try to consistently have the same measures consistently collected the same way, so that they can have better data.
Yeah, and I would love to hear from all of you guys that are actually on here live, your thoughts on it. My personal thought on it is it's going to save me time in doing these measurements and tests. It provides me with, a printout of the recording, so I'm not measuring, then writing it down, measuring and writing it down. And then when it utilizes AI to come up with the reports that I can put in the assessment section and so forth, it's saving me time, making me more efficient so I can use the other time with hands-on client treatment and so forth. So that's my
Yeah.
personal opinion. I think it's a tool that's only gonna help us be more efficient and improve our practice, and also document our outcomes. Because let's face it, some of us aren't very good at documenting our outcomes, and using this tool to help really show what we can do and what the measurements mean. So that's my opinion, but I'd love to hear all of your guys' opinions, because I think it's very valuable, and there's some things that I'm probably not thinking about that someone else might in here. So please share those. While you guys are sharing those, I'm gonna buzz up here to some of these other questions.
Yeah, and I'll just add quickly. I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of what our ultimate goal is, which is to help therapists be able to be more efficient and work with the patients and do what they love, not have to worry about tracking the data, and worry about how to convey what it means and all of that really tedious stuff that involves a lot of manual work, but more so being able to kind of quickly get the information, the data you need, so you can work and be with that patient and have that face-to-face interaction that you do the profession for.
I also, some of you guys might really not like what I'm going to say, but so I taught for 8 years, and let me tell you, teaching OTAs for 8 years, I taught the kinesiology class and GONI, the measurements and so forth. And to me, when we can use a tool like that's going to efficiently measure it and make it easier, then I can focus more time on educating them on other things, and they use this tool to assist them in practice. So I'm all about using our resources to help us, but I know a lot of people like to make sure you measure it all the old-fashioned way. Somebody was a little late and they're wondering what the name of this is.
Yeah, so the name of the software is Revanite Goni on the App Store. Our company's name is Revanite, but the app is called Goni for kind of measure. So if you go on the App Store and you search that, you can download it. You can use straight out of the box. Here, I'll type it into the chat. So you can use it, for free if you fill out our form and give us some feedback. We actually give you a 1-week free trial if you want to test it out. And then for practices, we also do free trials as well from kind of the enterprise license standpoint. So we are very open to letting people make sure they like it before they want to buy it.
And people are asking about the cost. I don't know if you want to go over that now or if you want to wait till the end or.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to go over that. So the cost is it's kind of different and difficult to when you sell to a bunch of different groups to figure out the right pricing strategy. What we typically do is a per location fee and then a per provider fee. So it typically will range, and we have kind of different tiers within what assessments and evaluations you get, which I can touch on more. But typically, one location license is $500 for the year. It's an annual subscription, and then any additional license that you add on to that, it's a $60 per year per therapist kind of additional license. So once you buy the $500, you can then a $500 license, then you have the ability to tack on more licenses with that for $60.
We have more questions. Will you be adding the functional reach assessment?
Yeah, so that's actually something that we were discussing this morning. So it's pretty funny that you brought that up. We are looking into that. We think we'll be able to add that pretty quickly. So that was actually another request that came in last week.
And you already mentioned you're adding the tug.
Yep.
How about the 30-second sit to stand? Is that already on there?
Yep. So we have a 30-second sit to stand and a 5-rep sit to stand. The nice thing about those is that we've preloaded all of the normative data sets for them. So when you finish up your evaluation, I can actually maybe pull my screen up and show you an example. It has all of the reference points of where the individual should be based on their age and sex. So
yeah, can you pull up some of those? I think that would be awesome for people to see. Because we have quite a few therapists on here that work with older adults and do falls assessments.
Who did I do it for? I know I have one on here. Oops. There's I don't know why I drew on there, but this is kind of an example. Don't mind the drawing on there, but so it gives you kind of the details of the individual. Again, if you have like a patient ID or something, you can always attach that to the client's profile and kind of always reference it using that if you don't want to enter in all of the information. It'll give you, again, the kind of, this is looking at the 30-second sit to stand test, give you the number of reps, the time that it took, and then calculate what that means based on their age and sex, and then use normative data reference points here down in a nice chart so you can kind of quickly review it and see what that information means.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
going up to more questions.
Sure if we have any.
Someone mentioned that they found out that their FCE platform software was updated to use this. And she said she's so excited to use it.
Oh, wow.
What other platforms out there do this and how do you compare to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are a lot of different options for motion analysis. And I think if you're interested and in the market, you should definitely go out and do your research. There are other companies that leverage similar technology, but maybe from a much more, what's the right word? Just a much more in-depth, very heavy system. So you have your traditional, there's kind of two ways that I usually look at it. You have your traditional motion capture systems and software technology companies. So those use either multiple cameras that you set up, or you have, multiple sensors that you have to put on your body. And then you have kind of the new school motion capture companies that are using either mobile devices or single cameras. The benefit of our software compared to the other companies that are out there is the ease of use and the efficiency and practicality of it. So a lot of other companies, they require after you do a motion analysis, they require either post-processing, or you have to make sure that the frames are aligned, or you have to do scrubbing of the data. And so sometimes those more intense and heavy systems aren't as practical in a real world environment as you'd like them to be. They may be able to get you more data points than what we currently display and currently give our customers. But again, it comes at a pretty significant cost, because if you're not using it in the clinic and it's not something that you can fit into your everyday practice, then it might not make sense to have it all. So what our kind of thesis is, again, is being able to improve efficiency and be able to help therapists do what they love, work directly with the patients. So I think that's really what separates us, is that it's super easy to use, super fast, take it on the go, you have it in your pocket, anywhere you want. So that's kind of the major difference.
Someone asked, is this beneficial for OT and PT? I personally feel it is, and I'm an OT and we have PTs in our practice, but I know some people were concerned about the hand range of motion, which I know, Joe, you had mentioned. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it depends on who you're working with. We have OTs that leverage it. We have OTs that have asked to leverage it once we get the hand models or our hand system in there and release that. So I think it really comes down to understanding, your patient population, what you need on a day-to-day basis, what can help make your life easier, and what you're commonly evaluating. And I think it's pretty simple that way. So it really just depends on what you're kind of looking to use it for. Once we have all of our hand assessments and other evaluations related to the fingers, I think it's a no-brainer for any OT. I mean, it's one of the biggest requests and challenges that we hear OTs have, and specifically also with different orthos that want to track different hand therapies and hand surgery recovery outcomes. So I think once that hand model hits in there, it's going to be pretty effective for OT.
How long have you been up and running?
So the company has been around for 3 years. Our latest iteration of the software has been around for about 10 months now. So the current version is still fairly young, but we make rapid improvements. We release updates about once a week, if not every 2 weeks. And so we're constantly trying to make it better and help improve the experience.
Can you kind of map out some of the upgrades that you have planned over the next few months, and the kind of the timelines, if you have that info?
Yeah, so before the end of this year, we're going to have our gait analysis modules, which I touched on briefly earlier, but I'll touch again. It's again the 10-meter walking gait. We have the timed up and go. We've got the 6-minute walk test, and then we will also have double leg, single leg, and I think those are the two that we have planned for the end of the year. Balance test, and then we're going to also release the exercise program generator. So all of that is going to hopefully be condensed within this month, most of which we have pretty much ready to go. We're just waiting to hold it back for this bigger launch. In the new year, we're going to focus on tracking rotational movements. So early in the year, we're going to be looking at tracking different rotations and other kind of more complex movements. Then we'll move on to looking at our hand evaluations, again, going through some validation with that right now. And alongside of all of that in the background, working on integrations and making it more user-friendly from kind of a day-to-day and management perspective. So transferring that data directly into the EMRs and things like that. So that's something that's planned, I guess, a little bit in Q1, but very heavily looking forward to doing that in Q2 and Q3 of 2024.
More questions have come up. How about the 4-stage balance test?
So that's going to be included in our balance module. And so it might not be there by the end of the year, like packaged all together. But we will at least have most of the assessments that you can kind of combine. So, but it will eventually, hopefully, by the second or third week of January, be all packaged together and ready to go in there.
Will you ever have other tools or equipment that will be able to also assess like grip strength or anything like that?
So our core thesis is that we want to make this technology as accessible as possible. So we do not sell or operate or do anything with hardware at all, other than if you'd like to buy tripods or stands for your iPad or iPhone. We do have a bunch of those, so we can sell those to you. But other than that, we don't mess around with any hardware. We want to make sure that people can just access it directly from their phone and anytime, anywhere.
Awesome. Is there any analysis or tools to assess breathing?
Ooh, that's a great question. Not yet, but a secret project we've been working on is not looking necessarily at breathing, but looking at heart rate variability within while using the camera. So we've got a couple other, a couple physiological evaluations and assessments that we're working on behind the scenes. But that's all I can say for right now.
Will pricing increase as other measurements and tests are added?
Yeah, they will. And to what degree that increases, I'm not sure. I think the one thing that we will always have in mind, and the one thing that we definitely don't want this to become like a $100,000 motion capture system, right? We designed this to be extremely provider friendly, available anytime, anywhere, accessible. And so it will have, price increases, because ultimately, as we continue to add more features, that drives our price and cost up from a data storage standpoint. And so we will likely with some of the more complex movements.
Can you talk a little bit more about the home exercise program?
Yeah, and I'm sorry I don't have that pulled up on here. I've got, as you might imagine, we do testing a ton, so I have like all these different apps on here that switch between our different versions of the software, and I didn't have the right one on here. But so how that works is, right now it's a PDF home exercise program, and so you can create a home exercise program for an individual that you've already screened. So let's say they have a shoulder injury. You may take them through a couple shoulder range of motion evaluations, look at a couple other metrics, and then once you're done, you can then click into a button that says generate a program. You can select that individual, which then it has basically has the data from that individual about what injury they had, when they had it, what their age is, what their sex is, all of that information, if you have that loaded within their profile. But it will take into account all of that information, and then it'll take into account their assessment results, and any pain reported, any notes that you took in there. And then based on all of that information, it'll generate a recommended exercise program. And you can modify and kind of specify what you want that exercise program to be, whether you want it to be medium intensity, low intensity, high intensity, or if you want it to be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and a half. You can pretty much like filter it to be what you want. And then you click generate, and it creates that program for you. Basically, it's a PDF with different images that show you how to perform the exercise, along with the description, the number of reps and sets. And you can then quickly send that to the patient. So right now it is only, unfortunately, PDF. Eventually we'll transition that to where you can send it out and they can access it through either a link or a mobile app and be able to watch the videos and things like that.
So let us know if you have any other questions on that, for those that asked. When did you say it may be available for Android?
So Android will likely be, unfortunately, around Q2 or Q3 of 2024. So that is something that we're targeting and eyeing, just to identify the right devices that support it. And then what we have to do is basically bring all of those devices, purchase all those devices ourselves, and then make sure we specifically test each one to make sure that they meet our threshold, and then go from there. So it's a bit more of a complex and costly challenge for us to solve, but it is something that we're going to solve, and it's on our radar.
Have you tried this application with post-stroke patients? Did synergies affect the accuracy of the movements?
So I personally have not. I do know we have a couple neuro centers that use it. One of our partners, Brooks Rehab, is launching it within their clinic at the end of this month, and so we'll have some really good data around that population. But for right now, I don't have any specific examples, and I can't speak to it.
Um, what is the cost if only one person needs to utilize it?
So if only one person needs to utilize it, it's still well, we have different pricing tiers. So I guess that would be good for me to explain. So if you want to only access the single joint range of motion analysis, and that's pretty much it. That is about $13 a month. It's $130 for the year, and that gives you access to all of the range of motion assessments. If you want access to basically the entire application, that's $500 for the license. Once you have one license, you can then tack on. If you have extra therapists who want a license for their device, you can tack on for $60. And then if you want the gait analysis, might be a little bit up, but we're kind of working out the pricing details on that right now.
Awesome. Okay, so I think I got everyone's questions, but if I missed your question, could you please answer that below? Or mark that below in the chat so I can make sure I answer that. And if there's anything else you want to see him demo, whether it's a measurement or an assessment or the documentation while he's on, let us know, because I know some of you were talking about more demos, so we can do that too. What's happening to data when stop? So does that mean, are you asking what happens to the data when you stop using the program? If you want to clarify that, Michelle, yeah. What happens to the data if you stop using the program?
So the data sits on your device. It's local and only on your device. And so if you just delete the app off your device, it's going to delete all of the data off your app. So if you don't want to lose your data, don't delete it. If you don't care about the data, then you can delete it.
How does it work as far as being like HIPAA compliant and so forth?
Yeah, so right now our software, as it classifies, is HIPAA compliant, and so we don't store or hold any kind of patient information on our end. Once one of the user license agreements is that you're responsible for the data once you have it on the device, and that's why we keep it local on the device right now. And so that's why it's pretty one-way street in terms of what happens with the data if you delete the app.
Awesome. Any additional questions that anyone has?
And I think Michelle asked about a PDF export. We do have you can export the results as a PDF, and you can also export it as a CSV. So either option is works.
And the best way to learn more or get additional information would be how, Joe?
Yeah, so the best way to learn more is you can reach out to me. I'm putting my email address in the chat. I can, if you reach out or just let me know right now, I'm happy to send along some information, like basically a one pager with information about how the software works, different features and pricing, and I'm can send that over, and then also happy to schedule a time to do a one-on-one call and go a bit more in depth about specific use cases and how it might apply to your practice or within your daily life. So happy to do either.
And make sure you tell them that you learned about it on Next Level.
Yes, exactly.
Do you have, you mentioned that they'd like to have that one-page sheet. I could actually send that out in an email to everyone
Yeah,
that
perfect.
if you want to send that to me, and I
That
can send
works great.
it out. And I'll send out his contact information and stuff in there as well.
That works great.
Awesome. Okay, any other questions? Did that, answered those. Yes, I'm going to be an affiliate. I can't help myself, Michelle. Okay, I think we covered. Any other things you want to add, Joe?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I definitely think that I'm really honored and happy to be on here. Just getting to talk to everyone and meet so many amazing therapists. It's a really cool industry to like work in and sell software to, because you see so many people who have so many different stories for why they got into doing what they're doing and why they're helping people overcome injuries and challenges with their life. So very thankful to be here. And if anyone has any questions or wants to talk more offline, I'm always available, and we'll make sure to send out that one pager and contact information.
Perfect. Thank you everyone for joining us, and you guys have a fabulous night. So thanks, Joe. We appreciate your time and are really excited about all the new things you're adding, and hopefully we can help spread this around to help decrease some of the time that it takes to take these measurements and write up the reports and so forth. So I appreciate it. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.